many of you guys have heard of the Z Camera E1? It's a new camera that is a little larger than a GoPro. It's black, but it uses a Panasonic G4 sensor. So this little camera can record 4K at 30 frames per second, 1080 at 60 frames per second, 720 to 40. It's a neat little camera. It's actually been out for maybe a year, roughly. I think it started on Kickstarter. But I've got a couple of them I've been using, and this will be just kind of a rough, quick review of that camera. Let's go take a look at it right now. All right, here it is. Z Camera E1. This is a nice little 4K camera, and the features that this has, pretty much everything. It has autofocus, auto exposure. This is just a little bit larger than a GoPro. Little 1/4-20 mount on the bottom. Has a small screen on the bottom. You can see the control buttons on the back. We'll put a lens on and turn it on. All right, I just put a lens on this. This uses the Micro Four Thirds lens mount from like Olympus and Panasonic, and then there's some other lenses out there. You can see I have a little assortment here. This is an interesting lens I popped on here. This is an Olympus. It's called a kind of a lens combo lens cap. Has no focusing. It's a 15 millimeter, and it does have a little focusing feature on here where you can actually go from infinity to about a foot away, and then it has this feature where it closes the cover is internal, so it kind of covers it up. But Olympus makes that in a 9 millimeter, which is pretty fisheye. It actually says fisheye on there. Then of course here's a Lumix that's off of the GH4. You can use anything that's Micro Four Thirds. This is autofocus. Here's a neat one. This is from Seven Artisans, and it's completely manual. Aperture focus, everything is manual on this, which I really like. Here's another manual lens. This is a microscopic. Well, they're calling it super macro. You have to get, within about 1/2 inch of whatever you're trying to photo to use this. This is a neat lens too, fully manual. And I like that about that camera. And that's the one thing I have to say about this camera is the autofocus is not the best in the world. Even though it uses that, the actual sensor from the Panasonic GH4, it is not focusing. It doesn't use the same focus components. Obviously, they really crammed this down in size, so it just doesn't have that capability. They are coming out with firmware updates every once in a while, so that's a good thing. Maybe they'll help the focusing feature. I like to use the manual focus. I've been using this manual focus lens. I've been using this super macro manual focusing lens, and it's kind of neat when you run with something like this. Let me see what size this is. I can't remember if this is a 25 millimeter, but it's nice because when you it's a 25 millimeter. When you have to adjust the aperture, you can get an incredible, interesting depth of field look where maybe the background is completely out of focus, or maybe it's just slightly out of focus. And if you have enough light, you can achieve that effect and I really like that. I was doing some video where I'll show you a sample video here in a moment where we were showing some snow melting, and we wanted the background to be completely blurred. So we just adjusted our aperture, and we were able to do that. The foreground is in focus, but yet like an inch away it starts to get out of focus. So that's a really neat thing. So those lenses can be used on this. Actually, there are a lot of lenses that can be used on this. Micro Four Thirds, there are a lot of lenses. This is not an action cam. You could use it for an action cam. It is about twice the size of a GoPro, and it does use a micro SD card on this side with the battery. On this side, you can see your ports. You've got the mid-size HDMI, you've got USB, and then they've got an I/O port and a charge jack for the battery. You've got a microphone port on the side here too. It does have a built-in mic. So over here on this side, power button, lens release. So this is a neat little camera. The only thing that I don't like about it, and it's, to me it's not a big deal, is the autofocus. So it just doesn't have super duper autofocus. Put a lens on and you're trying to focus and it'll hunt. Now you can change in the menu, you can change how it focuses. You can pick spot focus, or you can pick a wider area focus. You can also pick sensitivity, focus sensitivity, which helps. So it'd just be a matter of experimenting with that to get this to autofocus. But this has just been a fun little camera to experiment with when you don't want to have your high dollar camera in a situation where it might get damaged, or maybe your high dollar camera is just too big and too heavy to use in a certain application. This thing does a great job. So that's my just rough, quick review of the Z Camera E1. And I'll show you a quick video that my son and I did of some snow melting, so you can kind of get an idea of the video quality. We shot it in, I believe we shot it in 1080-60, which is a nice, video format to use. 4K 30 is nice and beautiful and sharp, but I like to have more frames per second, and so I usually drop down to 1080, 60 frames per second, and that's kind of a happy medium with everything. But here comes the video, and enjoy it, and that's my review of the Z Camera E1. Thank you.